Thank you, everybody. Sorry for the delay. We were having a wonderful performance in the auditorium by our middle and high school band and chorus students. It was fabulous, just fabulous, but it ran overtime. So I'm sorry we're starting late, but I would like to call it to order the January 6th meeting of the Merrimack Valley School Board with a roll call.
Oh.
Anyone? Bueller?
Okay, I wasn't prepared for that, but I can get there.
I was not prepared for that either. Pardon me? Yeah, she was in the meeting next door.
Do you have it? That's what I was looking for.
At one point I had him.
Okay.
Oh, wait.
Oh, no, I looked this up.
Oh, gotcha. Sorry. So what's Kristen's? Oh, you're right. It is.
All right, let's look up.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, okay.
But I got it.
Okay. Tracy Bricky,
Here.
Peggy Jones Blanchard,
Here.
Sally Hurst Dickinson.
Here.
Eric Hansen,
Here.
Julia Jones.
Here.
Lauren Martin, Melissa Muzzy,
Here.
Jessica Wheeler Russell,
Here.
Laura Benson.
Here.
Dan York.
Thank you. So if we could say the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next on the agenda are the minutes from the December 2nd meeting. Sally has forwarded the corrections to me as they are mostly grammatical. They are all actually grammatical. And so I have forwarded those on to Kristen and she will enter those in. It saves us time and they will be part of, just so that you still know what they are. Everybody will know what they are. They'll be part of the minutes of the next meeting. So I don't want you to think that we're trying to like pull something. Sally's trying to pull something over on you. But just so you know. So I entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Eric. The minutes have been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor of the minutes? Thank you. Any opposed? Okay. Next would be public comment. Okay, seeing none, I'll close that part and we'll move right on to the finance report.
Right, in your packet, you should have the complete finance report. The overage page looks very similar to last month, except we have, if you've been sort of following along with the in the line that we have as psych services, that has gone down by a little over 100,000. We were able to release some of the agency paras and some of that money that we've encumbered as we get our own employees. Some of them have been jumping ship and joining us, and that's a good thing. And we are continuing to try to get our own people in those positions. So hopefully we'll be able to keep chipping away at that overage. As you'll notice, it's mostly from encumbrance and not things that are already paid. I'll try to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions for Randy? Okay, I would entertain a motion for the finance report.
So moved.
Thank you, Laura. Second,
Second.
Dan, thank you very much. Any discussion about the finance report? I'm sorry, public comment is, we do have another public comment at the end of the meeting. And if you want to ask any questions then, that will be the time to do it. Thank you. All those in favor of the financial report as presented? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so next is the good news, and we had lots of good news in our digital version that we received. I especially loved the fifth graders teaching was it the kindergartners or the first graders? First graders. I loved that. That was fabulous. And tonight we will have a report and a presentation from Mr. Lynch from Merrimack Valley Middle School.
You guys know what to do with this cable?
Okay.
That's why I asked them to do that too. Did you have any sound on that, or is it just going to be? And I know it might feel weird, but if you guys can grab the mic for all of you.
There's thousands on there.
Yes. I think last time we had 13,000, but we expect to be much.
Look at his face. That was perfect. You're like, 13,000. Yeah, no. Maybe 2 or 3.
All right, good evening. I just want to say thank you to the board and to all the parents who helped drive our help desk students here tonight. My name is Brian Lynch. I'm the principal of the middle school, and it's my pleasure to be here tonight to introduce Miss Tammy Miller and some of our 8th grade help desk students. These guys do a phenomenal job and provide a very valuable service to the middle school. You'll hear tonight throughout their program, they learn a variety of real hands-on type skills that will transfer over into future careers, and just a lot of the great things that they've done for our school, and also, a big cost savings as well for all the devices that they're able to fix throughout the school year. So it's my pleasure to introduce you, Ms. Tammy Miller, and some of our health step students.
So one of the really awesome parts of my job is being able to coordinate the student tech help desk. And we've had a student help desk for 7 years now. And we've had students doing repairs for 6 of those years. These guys do almost all of the repairs in the school now at the middle school. which, as Mr. Lynch said, is it does benefit the school, but it also benefits the kids because they develop technology troubleshooting and repair skills. And even more importantly, moving forward, they develop a lot of important soft skills, communication, collaboration, perseverance, when they're working with the students who come in for help, to be able to help them out. I also get reports from teachers that these guys help out in the classroom when there's a tech issue. So they do a phenomenal job. They're fantastic. I have 4 of our 8th grade help desk students here tonight, and I'm going to turn it over to them right now so they can tell you a little bit about what they do.
I'm Garrett Clough.
I'm Ray Hodges.
I'm Nolan Snarrick.
And I'm Landon Vance. Okay, so what we do, we repair Chromebooks, answer tech questions, help with settings and software issues, clean Chromebooks and smartboards, relabel devices, salvage parts from broken Chromebooks to update Chromebooks for testing. We can replace keys, keyboards, touchpads, screens, LCD cables, batteries, cameras, camera cables, Wi-Fi cards, bezels, hinge covers, and hinges.
Software fixes. There are a multitude of software fixes that we can try first before opening up a Chromebook to try and repair it. These include checking settings, clearing the cache, updating Chrome, and doing a hard reset.
If a screen is cracked, we can replace it. This is one of the easiest repairs. We just have to remove the bezel, and then we can unscrew the screws to remove the broken screen. Last, we install the new screen and put the Chromebook back together. LCD cable replacement. If a screen isn't turning on, we can try replacing the screen. If that doesn't fix it, we can try replacing the LCD cable. The LCD cable connects the screen to the motherboard. This repair is more difficult than others. We have to remove both the screen and the keyboard. Then we have to unscrew the hinge and separate it in order to run the cable underneath. If you're wondering what LCD cable stands for, it stands for liquid crystal display.
Battery replacement. If a Chromebook isn't charging, the problem might be the battery. In order to replace the battery, we must first have to remove the keyboard. Then we remove the 4 screws holding the battery in place. Finally, we need to lift the speakers in order to remove the battery.
Keys. If a key is popped off and nothing is damaged, we can just place it back on. If the key has been lost, we can use one from another keyboard. We can also replace the keyboard based on its condition. Keyboards and touchpads. If some or all of the keys on the keyboard aren't working, or if the touchpad isn't working sometimes, we can fix it by just unplugging the cables and plugging them back in. We can also replace just the touchpad. If all fails, we can replace the keyboard. Cameras. If a camera isn't working, sometimes it's because Chrome needs to be updated. If that doesn't work, we can replace the camera, camera cable, or both at the same time based on the problem and what we tested. Hinge replace. The hinge supports the movement of the Chromebook. We might have to replace the hinges if they are broken or bent. Replacing a hinge involves removing the screen and keyboard. Then we are able to remove all the cables that are underneath the hinges. Salvage Chromebook parts. When a Chromebook can't be fixed, we can take all the working parts out to use for repairs. By doing this, we don't have to buy as many new parts for the Chromebooks. Tools. We have spudgers, which are metal and plastic, screwdrivers, and tweezers.
Parts we've replaced this year is we've replaced 27 screens, 14 keyboards, 6 batteries, 7 LCD cables, 5 touchpads, and 2 cameras.
Other issues so far this year, 30 power wash and updates, 15 reseated cables, 12 replaced chargers, 6 rebuilt hinges. We've cleaned 4 ports, and there has been 1 liquid spill.
That's pretty amazing.
Questions?
What's a spudger?
So a spudger, actually, I will go right back to that slide. So, oh yeah, that's true. They're in there too. So this is a spudger. It's used for like getting the keyboard and the screen off of it. So for the keyboard, there's screws on the bottom of the Chromebook that you have to unscrew with the screwdrivers. Then you like kind of slip this in So,
The last one was you would use for keys.
yeah, the plastic ones are key removers. So normally there'd be a touchpad here, and so what you do is you slip it in like in one of these spots and then slowly pry it open, making sure you don't break anything. And then, yeah, and then this is the key remover. So what you would do is you basically put it like onto a key like that. You kind of like do that and pry it open almost like a crowbar in a sort of way. Yeah.
What's the strangest situation you guys have encountered?
One time we had a kid. One time, a kid had deodorant go in all of his like the USB port and the charging port, and it was super hard for us to get it out because it was stuck like way down in the port.
Did he say how that happened? Did it melt?
I'm not sure actually.
I guess no questions.
Yeah.
Yeah. And did each of you arrive in this position as individuals who enjoyed doing puzzles? Like what brought you to this as something to do as part of your career?
So I joined it because I know one of my friends was doing it the first quarter of 7th grade, and he said it was pretty easy, so that's why I joined it originally. But then like through like the time that I've been doing it, it's like been like something that I actually like to do because it's like fun to help the other kids like and make sure they always have a working Chromebook, and to just have like working Chromebooks so the school doesn't have to spend more money than they have to like overall.
I joined help desk because I thought it'd be something new to try, and over time it's become a passion for me, helping out other kids, and I really enjoy it.
I also joined because I wanted to try something new, and as I did it more and more, I got like more used to it, and I liked it, and I haven't switched. And I started in 7th grade. So the main reason I joined, I just really like technology in general, like salvaging things, putting things back together after disassembling them in general. Just, oh, that's pretty fun.
Any more?
Is there any like certifications that you guys get through this? Do you know?
No.
But they can't continue it at the high school because they do the help desk over there.
So can you tell me about your recent presentation?
Yeah, so the recent presentation, I don't remember where. Nashua.
And it was the
Huh? Chris McAuliffe Tech Conference. And yeah, so it went really good. We had a few exercises that weren't on this one, like a one that we called help desk horror stories, were basically like really bad things that happen to Chromebooks that we had to like fix and stuff.
deodorant.
Yeah, like the deodorant. Yeah, so it went pretty good. We have a video, which we're not gonna do, but we had a video there, and yeah, that's about it, right? Yeah.
You were well received.
Yeah.
Excellent.
They did the long version of this presentation.
Nice job.
Yeah,
The
pretty
long
much, yeah.
explanation of the slides, so.
Did you say that you had to replace the deodorant laden Chromebook, or were you able to fix it?
I think we fixed it.
The one that was also pretty similar, where someone got the graphite of a pencil stuck in the USB port, which yeah, I don't know how one manages to do that. Okay, what happens if I stick this in here? Oh.
That's a problem.
Yep. Any more?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Very much. So we'll just give them just a couple of seconds to clear out.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, really. Can I bring my Chrome next? Okay, next on the agenda, student representative, Nick. I didn't
All right.
forget you,
Yes, not today, not today.
not today.
Alrighty, so they kind of just stole one of the reports I had, which is the middle school help desk students presented at the Kristen McAuliffe Tech Conference. Pretty cool. The fifth grade Pennacook Elementary students graduated the DARE program. DARE stands for Drug Abuse Resistance Education. It is a drug abuse prevention education program designed to equip elementary, middle, and high school children with knowledge about drug abuse, the consequences of abuse, and skills for resisting peer pressure to experiment with drugs, alcohol, and tobacco. Some Learning Center events happening on Tuesday, December 17th. Ken Fuller, who is the Learning Center administrator, and 9th grade student Max David visited the Concord Rotary Club to accept a donation of $500 for the MVLC Food Pantry, which is a food pantry that they started up at the Learning Center. And in November, 2 of the Learning Center students, Jason and Hayden, helped out a local business by helping set up a Christmas tree stall. So really great. Mr. Fuller does a great job of connecting the students with the community and building branches into the community. The National Junior Honor Society, NJHS, at the middle school recently inducted 15 students. These exceptional students have been recognized for their outstanding achievements in scholarship, leadership, service, citizenship, and character. So pretty much the National Honor Society here at the high school, it's kind of a way to kind of learn that system. So I was part of the NJHS, and now I'm part of the NHS. So that was always a fun group, and they host like the Halloween dance at the middle school and stuff like that. As you may recall, a few months ago, the middle school math class adopted a cow. Mrs. King's 6th grade math classes are continuing to track the growth of their adopted cow, Bonnie. She has grown to 200 pounds in her first few months, and they've learned about the expenses and profits involved in dairy farming while practicing their skills with ratio tables. I'm sure many of you have seen the Concord Monitor articles about the Valley. There's been a lot of great articles. Most recently, high school student Jaden Taylor and the MVHS art program were featured. And in an article coming out sometime soon is an article about Allison LaMontagne, who scored first in jazz and classical all-state on the trumpet. A very talented musician here at the high school. Jeremy Margolis, right here in the first row for the Concord Monitor, has been generous enough to show off many of the great parts of Merrimack Valley. So a big thank you to you. The MVHS Athletics will have the Payson Cancer Center fundraiser. They call it the Slam Dunk for Cancer. It's a basketball event. This year it will be held at Bishop Brady High School on Saturday, January 25th. It will feature 4 basketball games, beginning with girls JV at 9, boys JV at 10:30, girls varsity game at 12, and boys varsity at 1:30. The fundraiser will also feature a 50-50 raffle, silent auction, and concession. So a great event. I believe this is the 3rd year of the athletics doing that event. I have some jokes. It's kind of about journalism. Why did the reporter talk to the ice cream? He was looking for the scoop. And what do you call journalists who cover weightlifting? Bench press.
Nice.
And that's all I got.
And it was great. Once again, thanks, Nick. Moving on to committee reports. The first committee report in your packet is the Finance Committee minutes from December 10th, from December 2nd and December 10th. So we met both days. The minutes are in there. And I'm losing it here. Right, and I'm sorry, yes. And on the December 10th meeting, the budget was moved forward to the board. So questions about, so right now. So so you've had a chance to look at the budget. Are there any questions on the budget? Well, you know what? Why don't I entertain a motion first before we have the discussion? I'd entertain a motion to accept the budget as drafted in the packet.
So moved.
Second. Thank you. Any discussion about the budget? Questions? Seeing none, then I will ask to, did you have something?
No, I had a little pre-meeting with,
Okay.
Director of Student Services before the meeting started, just to ask some questions, so
Okay,
that was me looking through my notes.
okay. Okay, so all those in favor of the budget as drafted? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Yeah. Okay.
So nay.
Okay, thank you. The budget passed, so that motion is passed. After, I would like to know if I want to ask the board now if they would like to have a 5% contingency fund article on the warrant, money for the MET or money for special ed. Is that something that you're interested in doing, or do you want to talk about it at all, or?
Yeah, it was, as far as RSA 189-4, which is a contingency fund where you put it in front of the voters to have them vote once, that allows the district to retain up to 5% of the district assessment for unanticipated expenses that occur during the year. And it goes on the warrant. If the voters pass it, then that's something that would continue in each year. The board could look and decide if they would like to do that. That allows them to do up to 5%. Again, it's just as a holder, like an emergency fund for unanticipated expenses during the year. It was recommended to us by our auditor as part of our, we've talked about, a better financial future and trying to do things that are fiscally responsible. That was one of the things that was brought up, is the contingency fund. And then as far as the expendable trusts, obviously we had to take money from those, but in addition to a healthy fund balance, having a contingency fund and expendable trusts built up is really what GFOA and DRA, as well as our auditor, recommends. Again, if there is no fund balance, no money gets moved in to those. It would just be a matter of if the board would like to put those on the warrant, and then we'll put that on the draft warrant. And then after the public hearing, and then we wait for any petition warrant articles, that would change, as you probably recall, and then you would sign the official warrant. Right now it would be in draft form. If you are interested in any or all of the three things that I just mentioned, I will work with legal to make sure that we get the wording right. One of the questions that I posed was if we, let's say we had, if you asked me to put, $500,000 from the maintenance expendable trust and $500,000 into the special ed expendable trust, let's say that we had $750,000 to put into that. What is the, how does that get broken down? Is that something that's a decision, or does it matter the order on the warrant? So those are some of the things, as well as the wording, to make sure that we have the proper language. So it really comes down to what the board's choice of which, if any, of those warrant articles for the draft warrant.
So the contingency fund, the way it's going to be spent is not specified.
The contingency fund is simply for unanticipated. So some of them might
It doesn't
be.
have to be designated like the expendable trust.
Right, the expendable trust, you could be building up for something, and we talked about it as being more of an emergency fund, but but it could be something that you continue to build that up if you had a major capital project coming out. But thinking of it in terms of an emergency fund, that contingency fund is only for unanticipated. So you can't use it to sort of offset things that you would have budgeted for.
Sounds like something we badly need.
Just to clarify, so we need a motion, right?
Yes,
For this? Okay. I'm trying to figure out what the wording is. I move that we.
Contingency fund.
Yeah,
Yeah, a 5% contingency fund
that we.
on the warrant, for a warrant
place
article.
a 5% contingency fund on the warrant
Mhm.
for this, for our budget.
Thank you for that motion. Do I have a second? Eric, thank you. Any more discussion? Any more questions?
So with the warrant article, though, you put to the public for that to vote.
Correct.
Yes.
Yes,
So
And-
we write the article and they make the
There's
decision.
authority.
right.
Yeah.
And remember, it would only be if there were money. Like if there was a
It's from an unassigned.
unassigned, yeah, if there was unassigned fund or not. So,
I have a question. So if we have a special trust in a particular area, do we have to tap, or use those use those funds first before we would use the contingency fund? Oh, sorry.
There's no requirement to use the contingency funds. That would be, and it would be one of those things you'd have a public hearing. So you're really just holding some of that in case of those unanticipated expenses. Hold a public hearing, then you report out at the next annual meeting exactly what was held, what was spent, and then what would be going back to offset taxes for the following year.
Thank you.
any more questions? So the motion is to put a 5% contingency fund article on the warrant. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Fabulous, motion carries. The Transportation Committee met. Oh, sorry, I'm so sorry. Yeah, so we need now to put warrant articles, yeah, duh, for money for the MET and money for the special ed expendable trust. Those were the two trusts that we took money from at the beginning of this year, so they need to be replenished. Do you want to do them separately, or can we do them together? What's
Whoever makes the motion.
We need to come up with an amount we're gonna put in, right?
That was what
Yep.
I was gonna say, there needs to be an up to amount.
Yep. Do you want to make a motion, Laura?
Sure.
Okay, good. Do you want to,
I make a motion that we put a warrant article on the warrant authorizing us to put up to, what's a good figure, 50,000, 25,000,
we pulled out 500,000.
500,000? I guess we'll be able to put that in, but
I don't know, maybe 3?
Huh?
Maybe 3?
maybe 300,000, up to 300,000 into the expendable trust fund if funds are available.
You want it for both, the MET and the special ed, the maintenance expendable
Okay, we're
trust
putting-
and,
Are we doing them separately?
well, that's what I'm asking you. Do you want to do them?
This one I just said, what did that say?
You didn't?
Oh,
Oh.
special ed,
Okay,
expendable trust,
I thought you said that.
300,000,
okay,
okay.
all right.
that's
So
the motion.
The motion is to put up to 300,000 to put an article on the warrant for up to 300,000 into the special ed expendable trust. Is there a second? Second. So the motion has been made and seconded. Any more discussion about that? Okay. All those in favor of putting that on the warrant? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. And
I also move that we put an article on the warrant to allow us to put more money into the maintenance expendable trust, up to 300,000 of available funds.
Okay. Second? Dan, thank you. So the motion, any discussion about the maintenance expendable trust?
What presently does that trust have in it for money?
About 570,000.
What did it have, do you know, beginning of last year?
We took out about just over 500,000.
For reasons of overspending.
Correct.
Wasn't correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't the last one 150,000 or was it 300,000?
That was 300.
Well, it was 150,000 from,
Yeah, I'm asking for last year.
from 23, 24, yes. But we did not have a fund balance, so that money was subtracted from the approved budget.
And once again, these are funds that are, if
If they're available.
so realistically, is $600,000 going to be, up to $600,000 going to be available to slip into these? I'm not sure. I'm just saying. Is that realistic?
I'm sharing some concern in putting forth essentially $600,000 in front of the public. It's a lot, but also we've, at least in the past, seem to have managed to put away a little bit less than 300,000 in the maintenance expendable trust. I'm wondering if others are open to reducing that just a little bit.
I'd be more comfortable with 150. I think, more
How
versus
does my-
100.
Laura, are you willing to amend your motion?
Okay, you want me to amend it to 150,000? Okay.
And Dan, are you okay with that? Okay. Sounds good. So the new motion now is to put an article on the warrant for up to $150,000 for the Maintenance Expendable Trust Fund. Any more discussion on that? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm abstaining.
Okay,
Just because I don't agree, nor do I disagree.
okay. Thank you. Okay, then. Transportation Committee. Transportation Committee met December 2nd and December 17th. And Catherine,
Sure. Do you want to speak to this at all, Dan?
Sure, I can. So on the December 2nd meeting, we had a split vote, 2-2 on bringing the two new 14-person buses to the school board. But we also asked to get Noelle, and I don't remember what her title is.
So she's our transportation director.
Transportation director. So on the 17th, she came and presented a lot of information about what they're looking to get. They're looking to get the two 14-person buses that don't require CDL licenses to drive. It would be a 3-year loan with the purchases of about $40,303.27 per year per bus.
Sure, and I can just add a little bit to that. So the lowest bid was from WC Cressy. Each bus is $106,880. We are looking at 3 years with an interest rate of 6.43%. And that comes out to the price that Dan just stated per bus per year. And the Transportation Committee voted to move that forward to the full board for consideration.
Dan, are you making that motion?
Yep.
Okay. Anybody else from the committee want to second that motion?
I'll second it.
Thank you very much. So the motion before us right now is to approve the, I shut my, was approved the purchase of two 14-passenger 14-passenger bus that are wheelchair accessible. They'll be financed over a 3-year period. It will be a total of $120,910.09 over 3 years, which is $40,000 each. So that's the motion before us. Any other questions on that?
I have a question. Did Noel speak to how this might help address some of the transportation challenges we've been having?
Yes, she did.
Okay. Summarize just a little bit, like how
Mhm.
exactly it might.
Catherine?
Well,
In 500 words or less.
Well, it's kind of it's quite a game of moving things around. We currently have some older vans that are servicing some students with some unique needs. We have two full buses running, and she is going to be rearranging all of that. And it also impacts some of our smaller buses that are I believe it's one of the smaller buses in Loudon. And through the rearrangement of the drivers with the CDL licenses and those that do not, like, for example, currently we have monitors that can drive these buses, but they aren't able to drive the larger buses. We will be able to address some of the challenges that we're facing specifically in Webster. But it's also going to, well, as long as we continue to have our full staff of drivers, it would create a little breathing room in our driver pool.
And right now, we're short 4 bus drivers.
That's not
CDL bus drivers?
right.
Mhm.
And I know I had expressed this at the transportation committee, but, buying 2 new buses doesn't bring us drivers, and those buses only hold 14, so.
There is Noelle also spoke of that she's not able to get all the students that need wheelchair accessibility to school at this time because our vans do not hold. The vans aren't big enough to hold the required number of students that we have who have wheelchairs.
Is that
So
not?
they're going to school?
Is that
They're
not a
going to
legal
school, their parents are
liability?
bringing them.
Okay.
So are these buses that we're looking to move through, are those CDL required?
No.
Okay. 'Cause I was
That's
confused.
why-
Some
That's-
were
right.
going to as
Right.
buses, and then we're talking
Right,
about
that's
vans.
why,
Make sure.
that's why we have some bus monitors who can drive these kinds of buses. They don't have CDL licenses. They have, I forget what she said it was. Do you remember?
Class B.
School bus certificate. So they have school bus certificates, so they are able to drive the 14-passenger with the wheelchair accessible. So it would, then it would allow more of those students. And they would be able to then take a bigger bus that's now carrying fewer students. And they, with
Change
a,
the route.
change the routes. Thank you. Yeah.
There's multiple
it was a
movements
really-
involved across all towns.
It was a-
but
right.
I was just confused by the language,
Yep.
buses versus vans, as long as those 14-passenger buses fall into the non-CDL
Mhm.
category. That was my
Yeah.
concern.
Yes.
And I guess my only other concern, since we're having a discussion, is that will those 2 14-person buses be utilized? Because right now the van is holding 6 kids, maybe 4 kids. I think it's 4 kids.
4,
with
yep.
another possible 5 kids. So you're always going to have, if you're only going to use that transport for those 6 kids and you don't foreseeable in the future see filling up that 14-seat vehicle, why didn't we look into replacements for the van if the van was an issue? So I guess being the budget is already topping out pretty heavy, that I couldn't foresee an expenditure for 2 more buses this year.
Are we
So
planning on
I-
retiring? Oh, I'm so sorry.
I think if I recall what Noella did explain is that we would be fully utilizing these 2 14-passenger buses. and that all of our buses would be in use at all times, that there wasn't going to be the concern that we were going to have them sitting in the lot.
Sure. She actually said that the van, the 14-seat person bus would replace the van that only presently has 5 kids that they're scooting back and forth now.
Yes, I
So
think it's a
That's not utilizing a
four-passenger van.
14-seat van.
Yes,
you're
but I
only-
think she also spoke to that we have a bus that's quite crowded, and we would be able to take some of those students off of that bus and shift them onto the 14-passenger bus in Webster.
That was what I was hearing you say before, so I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Clarified that.
And both of the buses are in the proposed budget, I'm not sure.
So they are, yeah, so there's a,
So there's a sort of a replacement cycle. This is usually almost like a rubber stamp sort of process, because we have some that are in the first year, some that are in their second year, and some that are in their third year of the lease. And in past years, if we go back half a dozen years, if we had extra money, we would occasionally pay off a lease early. So for instance, in this current year, where the last of 3 payments on one bus, we're in the second of 3 payments on another bus, and then this would be the first of 3 payments on these 14 passenger. So it's really,
that money is in the budget.
And this just fits into our bus replacement rotation.
Yes.
yes,
The
it's not
money's been
something
budgeted
additional.
in the budget. It's
Pardon
not
me?
in- The money's been budgeted in the
Right.
budget. It's not, we're asking for that money. It's not there in the budget.
No, the 24-25 budget. It's in the 24-25
We
budget.
budgeted
We
for
This-
it.
budgeted for it.
Right, this budget right now. Yes, we budgeted
This
for
is
it.
the budget that we're taking the money out of.
Yes, this budget.
Yes.
Which is too high.
Any other questions? Okay, so the motion from the Transportation Committee is for, excuse me, 2 14-passenger buses. Do you want me to read the price? $40,303.37 per bus.
On this.
Well,
Just say WC Cressy and then-
and it's
The bid
W,
amount for the-
and it is from WC Cressy, and the total bid amount was $106,880 per bus. So all those in favor of the 2 14-passenger buses, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, thank you. All right. So that passes. Next on the agenda is old business. There is no old business. And on the,
Can I just get, sorry, and for the minutes on that last vote, what, for the nays, were there 2?
yes,
Okay, I just want to
Yeah,
make sure.
yep.
Thank you.
so I'm sorry. So old business, there was none. New business, okay,
We don't have to vote to add something.
okay. New business, there is none.
We need a policy meeting.
Okay, sounds good.
We had to do January.
Sorry, so I should have asked that before I got out of the committee reports, so, no, that's fine. Policy committee, and,
Yeah, we're looking at the 13th for policy at 5:30.
I can do that.
January 13th
Yep.
at 5:30.
Correct.
Is there anybody on policy who cannot make that?
Does 6:30 work better? Not that I want to make them too late, but. Huh? Not really? Okay.
So, who else is on policy?
I have, yeah, the other.
Okay, perfect.
Could we meet before the next school board meeting? On the 3rd?
The third. Um, that looks okay to me unless there's another committee that we plan to meet. Yep, we can.
I can
Is
change
that
that.
okay for everybody else? The
That
third?
works.
All right.
So are you replacing that
Yeah.
or are you doing the 13th also?
We'll do that. We'll replace it with the third because I'd really like to have.
February 3rd.
Yeah.
February 3rd at 5:30 here.
Thank you.
No problem.
Any other committees need curriculum?
Is facilities gonna meet anytime soon?
I haven't heard anything
Okay.
from Fred requiring one.
Thank you.
Curriculum will set a date in February.
Okay, perfect. Sounds good. Manifest and journal entries. Melissa and I have signed them both. Yes,
I
Laura.
was looking at them under the school board staffings. My name was enlisted. I got a stipend, but my name was not listed when I looked at it.
Oh, huh, okay.
Oh, that's good, right?
Under the stipends.
I don't know how.
Thank you. Any other questions about the manifest and journal entries? I would entertain a motion to approve the manifest and journal entries.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. It's been, motion's been made and seconded. Is there any more discussion about manifest and journal entries?
I'll abstain, I didn't read them.
All those in favor of approving the manifest and journal entries, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Next is mine. Yep,
I motioned.
motion second.
Thank you.
Yep. Excuse me. Next would be the school board chairs report. I did hear from Lauren last night. I got an email from her, and she has decided to step down from the board for personal reasons. So she still has 1 year left on her tenure. So that person will, we will need to find somebody to run for that position for 1 year from Bosquen. And also those people who are due to run, me, Eric, me in Pennacook, Eric in Webster, Peggy in Salisbury. Those 3 seats are up for reelection, or are up for election, sorry. If you're planning on running, then it would be reelection. And also, we still have the other Bosquen seat, so 2 seats from Bosquen. That other Bosquen seat, though, would be a 3-year position. And the date is January 22nd that you need to start filing for school board. And how long is that?
To the following Friday.
To the 31st. So January 22nd to the 31st. So you'll need to contact the superintendent's office to do that. We did have somebody who had written in, remember, but they didn't come to be interviewed. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Next, assistant superintendent report.
Sure, thank you. So last month, we had 2 different members of the MV administrative team present at state level conferences. So our own Dr. Worm was the keynote speaker at the Krista McAuliffe Tech Conference. I know that I mentioned this to you last time, but I know that he is far too humble to tell you about that experience himself. He and I hang out quite a bit out and about, and he has received a tremendous amount of positive feedback for that presentation that he made on AI. I think he was even described as the belle of the ball by one person. So, and I really just want to highlight how pretty remarkable is that we have a superintendent who is going and doing these things. I think that is one of the reasons that he is so valued by our faculty, because he has never forgotten the classroom, and he embraces opportunities to return to that role of the teacher, who I know is who he truly sees himself as. So thank you to Dr. Worm for doing that. Our MVLC administrator, Ken Fuller, presented at the 2024 Political Drivers of Health Symposium, which was sponsored by Dartmouth Health and held at St. Anselm College. He served as a panelist with leaders from a variety of professions from around the state on the topic of youth mental health. So that was a great representation of our district, and Ken Fuller is just a tremendous asset. I'm glad that he had that opportunity. So at our last meeting, we had a discussion about our school lunch program. Administrators have been sharing reminders in their updates about the program and the supports that we have available for our families, including free and reduced lunch applications and the food pantry. While notifications of those with lunch debt are sent out weekly, we're also going to be sending letters to our seniors with lunch debt this month in alignment with board policy EFDA. During the holiday season, the food service program did receive a generous donation to offset lunch debt in one of our elementary schools, and we were very grateful for that. And in another act of generosity highlighted on the cover of the board packet, and Nick mentioned this as well, the Sunrise Rotary Club donated $500 to the food pantry at the Learning Center, which was their winnings from the semi-annual Concord and Capital City Sunrise Rotary Cornhole Tournament. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions for Catherine? Superintendent's report.
So I've never been described as humble before, so I'm humbled to be brought up in that way. So that was going to be my whole report, really just saying about being at Christian McAuliffe, and yeah, I did get to see I got down there just as our middle school kids were finishing up, and there were people talking about them as they were wandering around getting their swag from the different vendors in the room, and they were awesome. They were very pumped up from the presentation. It was well received. There weren't a ton of people there, but the people that I talked to that had left their session were very impressed by the kids and what they do, and were asking Tammy, how do you get that sort of thing going in your school? And so that was excellent. And having the opportunity to do the keynote on the opposite day of one of our parents, who happens to be a cybersecurity expert in the state, and it's been kind of described as like the sort of the yin and yang, because he was talking about the cybersecurity part, and he was there with everybody's IP address and everybody's, he could tell what people were doing, and he showed us up on the screen, and then there's me the next day. Hey, there could be all sorts of cool stuff, and who knows where that's going. So just that, that sort of that difference of, what could be, and then also, but that cybersecurity angle, because you really can do both, right? You can do that learning piece and try to push things like out of his. He has 4 things that he recommends to be, to have you be secure, and I have 3 out of 4, and I just haven't quite taken care of that last one. I'm trying to decide if money wise it's worth that last cybersecurity lockdown that he was suggesting, but overall I think the conference was great, and getting to see that and interact with teachers, and some of our own teachers are down there, and got to see them getting excited about ideas things that they've learned from other districts as well. So I really enjoyed that. So that's all I have for you.
Thank you. Okay, so next on the agenda is topics for the next board meeting.
I have one.
Okay.
I would like to visit the idea of recording our committee meetings as well and streaming them. And I understand the convenience of having them at the SAU. So I'm hoping that maybe we could ask the administration to kind of get us an idea of what it would take to be able to allow them to stream from that room, if that's a possibility, just to kind of keep it convenient for everyone.
Okay.
I think it'd be good for everyone to see the committee meetings as well as board meetings.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. Next is public comment.
Evening, Sean Kitson from Loudon. I just had a quick question about the warrant articles that you guys were proposing. The 300K for special ed and I think it was 100, got down to 100K or so for building and maintenance. Where did that number come from? I mean, do we just pulling arbitrary numbers from somewhere?
So we did take out 500,000 from both the maintenance expendable trust fund
Right, tracking.
and the special ed expendable trust. So we didn't want to, you heard the discussion, we didn't want to put all 500,000 in. So both of them, because the special ed trust fund is lower, the 300,000 was what was proposed for special ed, and the maintenance expendable trust fund, 150,000.
Right, but what's that based off of? I guess, because it was just a number. It was
Ju-
like, how
right.
about $1 million? Why not $1 million? Do we have any,
Okay.
like, where are you getting that 300,000 to replace the 500 you took out? Why not replace the 500?
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. Okay.
That was like the question, like is it we just throwing numbers out here and no one's asking why it's 300? How about lower, 100,000? No one thought to ask? That's all I'm saying is there's a lot of money's being thrown around. And that's okay. But it should be pushed out there, like asking for 300 for X, Y, and Z. Tell people what you're doing. That's all. The next one, the buses. Going for broke on that one again. Why not start with one bus? Why two? Why do we have to have two this year? If we start with one, we can see how the year goes and says, hey, we really need a second bus because we have more students this year that require this bus. Then put it on the warrant article for the next year for a second bus. We're going for broke. That's all I keep seeing and hearing from the town people. More and more money here, here, here. Just start small and work your way up if you need to. That's all.
Okay, thank you.
Bill Hines, Bosquen. Jessica, I just wanted to follow up on your point about recording those meetings. And while I don't oppose it, I kind of like that those meetings aren't recorded. But my point that I was going to make was, I think we need to go back to what our articles agreement say that we need to do, and that is continue to rotate around to the various district buildings. And I'll tell you why I think that. Back in the day when I traveled with the board, when it was going around in the early 2000s and late 1990s, I found it very valuable to step into those buildings and see what was happening there. And I think in spite of the fact that I recall that Dr. Worm said that it's difficult because of the recording requirements that you've set for yourself. So yeah, I get it, but I think we need to figure that out first, and then we can maybe talk about getting on with the committee meetings.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to grab a seat though. So my name is Tom Liberty. I live in Bosquen, and I just got a couple things that I'd like to ask of the board. First is it would be very helpful and it would be beneficial to build a informed voter base if we had some type of visual presentation that could be put on the website, the district, or any social media that you have. I think for you, it's pretty easy to understand. You deal with it, you build budgets. But for the person that's coming home at 5, 6 at night, that isn't familiar with schools, that is trying to be familiar with them, to have a easy to understand visual with graphs and charts would just be beneficial and helpful to the community. Tracy, you do a nice job orally with it in the spreadsheet, but For some people, I think it's very hard to decipher that and understand it. And when it's presented at a meeting, it's a lot of information at one time. So please consider creating some type of a slide presentation that people can look at their leisure so that they have the opportunity to digest and understand and compare numbers to previous years. So I ask you to consider that. My second thing is just a real quick, and I hope I don't take more than my allotted time. I think I'm gonna.
You got 3 minutes.
Okay. So personally, my personal life, fiscal conservative, my professional life, fiscal conservative, and I hope that community organizations that I pay taxes to are the same, yet get what we need for our community and our kids. No question about that. But I have a bigger fear than having a budget that has a little inflation to it. There's been some recent events in this state up north and just 10 minutes down the road last year where school budgets were gutted pretty hard from what was proposed, which could be damaging to kids. So what I ask is you to consider, and if I'm saying things you've already taken care of and talked about, I think if you get a group of organized people to come to a meeting that say, we want to reduce your proposed budget by $2, $3, $4 million, and it has happened in the state, and it has passed. I just encourage the board to have a plan for that. You know, what are your non-negotiables? What are your values? What are your priorities? What is your default? What are you going to keep? And I just think it's a lot harder for people to vote down a number, or a lot easier to vote down a number than it is to vote down specifics. If that happens and people come with that type of a requested cut from your proposed budget, it's not going to be good for kids. And I'm very concerned. And now we got some warrant articles coming. I'm just concerned that it may happen here. So I just ask you to please be thinking about that and have a response if that is brought to a motion and seconded, and it's come to the board of, well, what does that mean to the schools? And I just encourage you to have an answer for that.
Thank you, Tom. Anybody else?
Hi, my name's Bob Matzel from Loudon. I really just want to come to second Tom's statement. So I think, the most important principle is transparency, and it can go two ways. I think on one hand, a higher degree of transparency can maybe illuminate some issues that may bring up some fiscally conservative people who maybe don't want to see the spending. But, conversely, parents who are concerned about making sure their children have what they need at school, it might also inspire them to come down here and represent and make sure that the budget gets passed. That's really my biggest recommendation. I manage a relatively small budget. It's like $1.3 million. It's obviously peanuts compared to what you guys are talking about. But I do know what it means to have to spend money and save money and allocate money. And I think just taking the time, like Tom said, put a presentation together, go through by line item, explain, because that was my concern. It was, talking about the $500,000 that was in the special education fund. Is it may not be haphazard what you guys are recommending for numbers, but it sounds that way when it says, oh, well, hey, this is 500,000, maybe we should go with 3. Just talk about, hey, this cost is based on these principles. This is where we're deriving this information from. This is why we're recommending this. I think it'll just put the room more at ease. It'll put, the community more at ease, and it'll honestly, in the long term, probably help you get to what you're trying to prove. It's really it. Just recommend the transparency as much as possible. And if you can get something produced ahead of time that maybe people can do a read ahead, they can look at it. And then when you guys are doing your meeting, just have that presented. And as it can help you walk the dog, probably help with, meeting organization as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Did that lady leave? Oh. Yes. Thank you. Anybody else? Then that concludes the public portion. We do have to go into non-public session under RSA 91-A:3 II, C, and B. We will be returning to public to after our non-public session is over to take action on things from non-public. So we will be coming back. So can we get about 5? So want to call the roll?
Yes. Tracy.
Oh, wait, no, I need a motion.
Oh.
Motion to go into non-public? Okay. Julia, Melissa, duh. Julie, Melissa. Okay.
Tracy Bricky.
Yes.
Peggy Jones Blanchard.
Yes.
Sally Hurst Dickinson. Yes. Eric Hansen.
Eric?
Julia Jones.
Yes.
Melissa Muzzy.
Yes.
Jessica Wheeler Russell.
Yes.
Laura Vincent.
Yes.
Dan York.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can
Five.
we take about 5 minutes? I need to run to the restroom.